One word comes to mind, the word emboldened. Trump and his team is going to be emboldened by this settlement by ABC, because rather than fight this out any further, rather than trying to go to trial, ABC is choosing to settle.
I don't say this often, but Brian Stelter is correct. Now, ABC News has agreed to pay $15 million toward President-elect Donald Trump's presidential library in order to settle a defamation lawsuit that Trump himself filed against the news organization. Now, Trump filed this suit against ABC News over anchor George Stephanopoulos, inaccurately claiming at the time that Trump was found liable for rape in the Carroll case. Now, he had actually been found civilly liable for sexual abuse, not rape, and there is a distinction here. I'll get to that distinction in just a moment, but first, here is the segment that spurred the lawsuit.
And you've endorsed Donald Trump for president. Judges and two separate juries have found him liable for rape and for defaming the victim of that rape. How do you square your endorsement of Donald Trump with the testimony we just saw?
Well, I will tell you, I was raped at the age of 16. And any rape victim will tell you, I've lived for 30 years with an incredible amount of shame over being raped. I didn't come forward because of that judgment and shame that I felt. And it's a shame that you will never feel, George. And I'm not gonna sit here on your show and be asked a question meant to shame me about another potential rape victim. I'm not gonna do that.
It's actually not about shaming you. It's a question about Donald Trump.
No, you are shaming me.
You've endorsed Donald Trump for president.
Right.
Donald Trump has been found liable for rape by a jury. Donald Trump has been found liable for defaming the victim of that rape by a jury.
Now, just to give you further context, Stephanopoulos was referring to a lawsuit by Carroll, who alleged that Trump raped her in 1996 in the dressing room of a New York City department store. While the jury found that Carroll's attorneys did not prove the rape allegation, they did agree that Trump forcibly sexually abused and defamed her and ruled that Trump had to pay Carroll $5 million. So let's talk a little bit about the distinctions here and how New York actually changed its laws following this lawsuit that Carroll had brought against Donald Trump. So New York actually had a pretty strict definition for rape. At the time, it had to be vaginal penetration by a penis. Now, Trump was alleged to have forcibly penetrated her with his fingers. I apologize, for getting into the details, but it's pertinent to this story. Later, though, New York, I should say, actually changed. They passed a new law that expanded the definition of rape. Federally, though, rape is defined as penetration, no matter how slight, of the vagina or anus with any body part or object, or oral penetration by a sex organ of another person without the consent of the victim. So it really depends on the jurisdiction. New York had a very strict definition, but they later changed it to be broader, like what we have on a federal level. But nonetheless, what George Stephanopoulos said at the time of that interview with Nancy Mace was inaccurate. And so at that point, Donald Trump pounced on it and filed a lawsuit against ABC News. And so rather than really fight the defamation case, which by the way, had gotten to a point where they were gonna do, what is it called when you're depositions? They were about to do depositions. ABC News decides, let's settle it instead. As part of the settlement, ABC will pay the $15 million to the Trump Presidential Library, which currently only exists online, plus another $1 million in Trump's attorney fees, court records show. That $1 million is to be paid by George Stephanopoulos himself. And the network also added a note to the online story about the interview, noting that both ABC and Stephanopoulos regret the comments. Now look, this has made members of the media, legal experts, and liberal pundits very upset because they feel that this sets a terrible precedent for the press. So Democratic attorney Mark Elias wrote, "Knee bent, ring kissed, another legacy news outlet chooses obedience." Reporter Oliver Willis argued on Threads that this is actually how democracy dies. MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuaid believes that this settlement will have a chilling effect on the media. And I think that those predictions might be correct, because now we're hearing that Donald Trump is in fact emboldened and is now planning on filing lawsuits against pollsters, lawsuits against CBS, Bob Woodward, the Des Moines Register. In fact, here he is talking about Ann Seltzer's Iowa poll leading up to the election, which was pretty ridiculous, but suing her over it sounds a little crazy. Let's watch.
I'm doing this not because I want to. I'm doing this because I feel I have an obligation to. I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points, and it became the biggest story all over the world.
So, look, I am worried about the chilling effect on the press. Now, the press should be careful, and you shouldn't be sloppy, and you should go out of your way to be accurate. But the other thing is, look, in order to win a defamation suit, the person filing the suit would have to prove actual malice, meaning that the Trump team would have to prove that George Stephanopoulos knowingly lied and kept saying that he was found liable of rape. And so I don't know why they decided to. Okay, go ahead, since you know.
Yeah, so look, do I know for a fact, do I have by saying their internal documents? Of course not. But my significant guess here is that they were going to go to deposition and discovery, and Stephanopoulos was going to testify the next day, and they didn't want that. And they did, and that's the real reason they settled, not because they're going to lose, but because they have damaging things that would be found out in discovery. And so probably about completely other topics, right? So they did this as a way to cover their own ass, but it damned us all. And I'm going to explain why it damned us all. But first of all, on how easy it would have been to win the case. So let me read to you something from CNN. A judge concluded in August 2023, when dismissing Trump's countersuit against Carroll, that the claim that Trump raped Carroll was, quote, substantially true. The judge wrote that Trump, quote, raped her in the broader sense of that word, as people generally understand it, though not as it is narrowly defined by New York state law. So what Anna read you about New York state law is true, and that would have been helpful to Trump in his case. But the judge in the other case, again, about the same issue of Carroll, when Trump countersued, said, yes, brother, but that's what people normally call rape. It's just that New York has this weird law where they don't call it rape. So you're gonna try to win this countersuit against Carroll defaming you based on this technicality in New York law, and it's never gonna fly. I dismiss your case.
So I have a counter to the point that you're making, because typically with these types of defamation suits, especially if the individual filing the suit is a public figure like Donald Trump is, the judge tosses it out.
Yeah.
Because it's incredibly difficult to prove actual malice.
Yeah.
So there's gotta be a reason why the judge didn't toss it out.
No.
And decided to pursue it all the way to the point where they were about to do depositions.
So let me be clear about that. That's not exactly right, Anna. So in the first layer, before you get a deposition and discoveries, the judge is not allowed to consider factual matters, okay? So it can't decide, hey, is it fair to say that it was defamation based on the use of the word rape or not? They can't make that decision. They can only make the decision on matters of law in the beginning. So what this judge is saying is, by law, it's not clear, because New York says that's not rape, everyone else on planet Earth says it is. So I can't make a ruling on that. Now we're gonna have to go to trial for me to make a ruling on that. So it's actually a very normal thing that the judge did. So that's not the issue. The issue is ABC's reaction to that normal ruling. What they should do normally is go forward with the trial and then win in the trial and dismiss this absurdity, right? But they didn't want something to be revealed about themselves, so they chickened out and said, oh, okay, we bow to you, we surrender to you, and decided to give in. Now, guys, remember, number one, the issue of the definition of rape is certainly in question here. And number two is they would have to prove malice. That is massively in question, right? Et cetera. But also for our purposes, the most important thing is, because of this terrible, awful precedent, now every time anyone in media criticizes any politician, they're going to get to say defamation. Okay, and now and remember this, guys. This is so important. The defamation charges, even if they're preposterous, forces you to spend a lot of money on lawyers. So I think this could hurt independent media way more than it hurts corporate media.
Yep.
Because corporate media throws away $15 million like it's nothing, right? Now, again, it doesn't matter if you're right wing or left wing. If you're a right winger who are like, yeah, Trump got him, there you go, fake news. Yes, until they sue Charlie Kirk and they sue Joe Rogan and they sue all these guys and go, hey, and
well, those folks,
and hey, Mitch McConnell or Nancy Pelosi or Joe Biden can say, hey, you said I had dementia. That's a technical legal definition, and I don't fit that definition. That's it. There you go, Theo Von, whoever else.
Yeah,
you're all going to get sued. You're all going to owe me money.
This does open a Pandora's box for sure, and also keep in mind that some independent media outlets, like I would be shocked if Charlie Kirk didn't have insurance. And by the way, I wanted to bring insurance up as well because oftentimes media outlets have insurance for these types of lawsuits. That way they're not bankrupt if they lose a lawsuit, right? And so what tends to happen is the insurance companies, yes, they provide protection. If they tend to lose a lawsuit or whatever, the insurance company will provide the coverage. But insurance companies also pressure news organizations to settle. That's another thing.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So that leads to the second giant problem, which is self-censorship. Now, we're strong here and we don't do it, right? And we don't cave into any kind of stuff like this, as you can tell. We have enemies on all sides because we never cave in, right? So, but for a normal organization that just cares about money, their insurance is gonna pressure them, just settle, who cares? Who cares? Who cares? Just settle, settle, right? And so, and sometimes if it's a tiny amount, you settle just to be done with it, et cetera, right? And that happens all the time. But the 15 million is not a tiny amount, it's a giant amount. So now the insurance guys are gonna pressure people to settle for even more and then increase their insurance rates, et cetera. And so what is a normal profit maximizing company, whether they're mainstream media, right wing media, or anything else going to do? They're gonna say, let's stop criticizing the politicians because it costs too much. And so, okay, here's another example. What if you call the politicians corrupt like we always do, okay? And a lot of people in right wing media does, a lot of people in left wing media does. Of course, mainstream media doesn't, that's their beloved politicians. But all of us, they're gonna say, well, you said corrupt. Is it technically corrupt, not corrupt? I don't know, let's sue and let's try to get money out of you. So now everybody bow their heads to the slimiest people on earth, politicians. So if you're on the right wing and you're celebrating this because you think Trump won, you got another thought coming to you. This is a disaster for everyone in media, and especially in independent media that would hold politicians more accountable. And lastly, actually two last things. One is lawfare. You know how, remember the right wing was complaining about lawfare? What is this, guys? Now Trump says, I'm gonna sue 60 Minutes, I'm suing against Seltzer. Then he mentioned New York Times, Washington Post. Anyone who covers the president of the United States, or criticizes the president of the United States, core constitutional right, First Amendment right. It doesn't get any more of an American right than that. And he's saying lawfare for all of you. I sue you, I sue you, I sue you. What happened to tort reform? All of a sudden we got the sewer in chief, okay? So he's suing everyone who criticizes him. By the way, also a delicate little bitch, let's be honest, okay? So right wing, you're gonna catch feelings over that? Oh no, Washington Post criticized me. Brother, man, you should see what the New York Times did to me. I didn't sue them, okay? But no. But Trump's feelings have to be protected. Get the hell out of here, man. So now this is a plague on all of our houses, and it's going to be a disaster for everyone. And second of all, can you let the Ann Seltzer thing go? Like, so there's a bunch of lunatic conspiracy theories out there. One is that, Ann Seltzer was single-handedly going to try to rig the election. Instead, she humiliated herself by getting it wrong by about 20 points and instantly retired.
That is true. She did humiliate herself, but
it would only, look, guys.
Yeah, but hold on. Look, I don't buy the conspiracy theory about that, but also there is such thing as push polls. Right, like that.
But she's never done that.
And I don't think that she did that.
No, but
because it totally destroyed her reputation. So I don't think she did this on purpose to do a push poll.
Okay, look, now everybody buckle up, brace for impact, because I'm gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings here. There was a lunatic right-wing conspiracy theory and a lunatic left-wing conspiracy theory on this.
It is America.
So the right wing one was, Ann Seltzer and a couple other people are rigging the polls. But in order for that to be true, then Kamala Harris would have had to have won or cheat. Remember, the theory was, they're going to cheat and pretend that the fake polls are the real polls, right? But since they didn't cheat and Kamala Harris didn't win, what was the point of rigging an Iowa poll? That only makes sense if Kamala Harris is going to cheat and pretend that the fake polls were the real polls. But since she didn't do that, why would they ask Ann Seltzer to humiliate herself for no reason? It makes no sense at all. Not 1 ounce of logic to it. Now, the left-wing folks. Polymarket, they're all betting on Trump to rig the election in favor of Trump, and he's going to cheat, and then they're going to say the Polymarket polls showed that he was going to win, and they're going to use that as an excuse.
Polymarket isn't a poll.
Hold on, except for the fact that Trump did win. Okay, so the people who are betting on Trump on Polymarket, yes, Polymarket is one of our sponsors. Go cry about it. Okay, so polymarket.com, cry more. Okay, and so if they're like, they're only pretending that Trump is winning in their markets. No, that was real people who bet on Trump to win. You know why? Because they were right, Trump won, and they won a lot of money, okay? So nobody was stopping you from betting on Kamala Harris, you just would have lost money. So, but did anybody that had that conspiracy theory turn around and go, yeah, I guess the Polymarket people, the people betting in those markets were just normal people and they were looking to win money and they were right and they did win money and there was no conspiracy there because Trump didn't cheat this time, etc. No, nobody came back and apologized. They all still, if you ask them today, they'll be like, no, the Polymarket was cheating, it was cheating, I know it, because Trump is.
What does that even mean, cheating? They're like, people are betting on this like online betting platform. Like what is the cheating?
I think the lunatic conspiracy theory was that Polymarket or some big whale was putting in so much money into Trump, and they were willing to lose that because Trump was going to cheat. And when Trump cheated, he was going to say, but the Polymarket market said I was going to win, so that's why it's not cheating. First of all, that would have been a disastrous excuse for, like, that would have never worked. That's so insane.
No, it would totally hold up in court.
Okay, but all of that is irrelevant when he didn't cheat and won, and those bettors were correct, right? But no one in that lunatic sliver of the left ever came back and said, my bad. Like, for example, after the election, I did a video where I said, I told you guys Trafalgar and a couple of the other Rasmussen and stuff were skewed polls. They were, it seemed to me more like a push poll to help the right wing, at least in terms of perceptions, et cetera, because of the way that they were, the groups that they were choosing to poll. So because it's not a market, it's polling, and if you choose to poll one set of people over another, you could. And you know what I did after the election? I came out and said I was wrong. They were actually more accurate than the ones we normally trust, because facts matter. And it turns out they were polling the right people. They came closer to what was real, right? So when you're wrong, it's not that hard to admit it unless your ego is in the way and you don't want to learn and you want to stick with your insane conspiracy theories because that's what you told your audience and you don't want to admit to them that you were wrong, okay? So that, remember, left wing and right wing, Ann Seltzer didn't ruin her reputation because Kamala Harris was planning to cheat. She didn't cheat.
Yeah, she just ruined her reputation with a terrible poll.
That's all. Yes.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.